In the Silicon Valley, Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, is famous for his reality distortion field. He is able to take what might seem like an impossible dream, an impossible goal, and articulate it in such a way that people really think it's possible. And then they get inspired enough and motivated enough, and they work hard enough to transform that from being impossible to being inevitable. Isn't that what all great leaders have the ability to do? To articulate a dream, a goal in such a way that we believe it, we buy into it, we want to make it happen. Martin Luther King with his I Have a Dream speech. John F. Kennedy, we're going to put a man on the moon. Wendy Kopp, we're going to transform inner city schools. I'm Joe Ty, CEO of Values Coach, and your coach for our course on the 12 Core Action Values. And today we're on module number 39, the articulation cornerstone, the third cornerstone of core action value number 8, which is vision. And you know, a vision isn't really a vision if you can't transmit it to somebody else. If you can't articulate it in some way, either with your words or drawing a picture, a soundtrack, somehow you've got to be able to convey that vision to somebody else, especially if it's something that requires a team effort to come real. And I'm going to share with you 5 key elements of creating a memory of the future, what we talked about last time. But first, let's just talk about the words themselves. Verbs and nouns. Visualization is a verb. Vision is a noun. How do you create a vision? You go through a process of visualizing something. And here's the thing, it is not a one-step process. You visualize something, you have a vision. Verbs create nouns. And then you've got a noun, you've got this vision, but you can make it better. So you visualize it again. Maybe as I've discussed previously under purpose, maybe you create a prototype. Maybe you share the dream in a brainstorming session with other people. Somehow you make the vision bigger by continuing to visualize it. That is the process. Now let's talk about several elements of articulating your vision. And the first step actually is articulating it. Having a mental picture or being able to describe in words or drawings to somebody else what it is you want. I want a big house. I would like to have 5 acres out in the country. I would like to have a single level home, a ranch home, but I want a basement for my pool table. Which one of those two is more likely to be achieved? I want a big house, or I know exactly what I want. I'll know it as soon as I see it. Articulating your dream. The second step, and by the way, these all start with the letter A, the 5 A's of a memory of the future, is affirmation. Why? Because we dream in pictures, but we worry in words. And as soon as you start articulating, I would like to have this house, little negative nagging voice in the back of your head is probably going to say, why, you can't afford the mortgage you have now. How are you going to pay for that thing? And that is when you need to rewrite negative self-talk with positive, nurturing, and probably more true affirmations. The third A is asking. If you have a big dream, even if it's something like a new house, you have to be willing and able to ask for help. You want a new house? Unless you can pay cash for it, you're going to have a conversation in which you ask your banker for his or her support. I love the book, The Aladdin Factor by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. And in that book, they say, remember the story of Aladdin? How this little boy is walking down the beach, he sees a lamp, and he picks it up and he rubs the lamp, and a genie comes out and says, I'll grant you any 3 wishes. The Aladdin Factor, they say, is asking the right question of the right person at the right time. And it's not just you don't ask one time. You keep asking until you have hit that magic combination. Right person, right question, right time. But of course, just asking the question isn't enough. You have to take action. And usually it's not just one big action, it's lots of little actions. And again, going back to Canfield and Hansen, when they came out with their first Chicken Soup for the Soul book, it went nowhere. Canfield said it was the calm before the calm. And they made a commitment to each other. They call it now their 5-a-day rule. that every single day, each one of them would do 5 things, even if they were small in themselves, 5 things to promote their book. And it took a while to get the momentum going, but there are now over 100 million copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul in print, I believe. When Mark was a speaker at one of my conferences back in 1996, it was 3 million. 5 little things a day. You want that big house? One day you go on the internet and you type in fireplaces.com and you say, that's the fireplace I want. And then you, instead of buying a candy bar, you put $1 in your down payment jar. And then you call up the cable company and you discontinue that contract. That's 2 little things and 1 big thing that are going to help you get toward your goal. And every day you do 5 things. Now, it's not so much the things you're doing that add up, and oh, they do, but it's also that the more you do those 5 things, or however many you commit to doing, the more you are convincing yourself it is not just a dream, it is not just a wish, it is a memory of the future. But finally, the world's going to change, you're going to change. Your ideas may change, so you have to adapt, the 5th A. You may decide after a while, personally, at one point, I thought we wanted a really big house. You know, I was the chief operating officer of a big hospital. I thought we have to put on airs, you know, have parties and all of that. And now I realize that is the last thing in the world I want. What I really want is a small house, but I want land. I want to be kind of out in the country. When our daughter was raising horses, we wanted to be able to have horses, plus all of our dogs and cats and snakes and pigs and everything else she had. We adapted. If you stay absolutely fixed on something, even though you're changing and the world's changing, you can end up doing the wrong thing. Let me ask you to think about this before we move on to the last cornerstone. What is your dream? And if I were a banker, or if I were somebody else on the other side of the desk, and you were trying to sell me on your dream, what would you tell me? What would the words be? What picture would you draw for me, even if it's a word picture? How would you articulate your dream in such a way that you got me to be inspired to want to help you make that dream become your memory of the future and your future reality? See you next time.